Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of GNN. Today is August 14th, 2024, and we have another banner night on our hands here. But before we get into the details of our brand new mobile suit, let's go over some news. All right, folks, here we are. We are well within our way for Gundam Battle Operation 2's 6th year anniversary campaign right now, which started on the 24th of last month, which was July. We're still on our way to almost ending that. We got one more week to go and so forth. Tonight's main event is here. It is the mass production type new Gundam fin funnel configuration. It threw me off when I first saw the FF in this designation, and I thought, wait a minute, we're getting another Gundam statue from Fukuoka? And I'm like, no. So it took me a minute to kind of like, take a breather and, stop and realize, no, this is the fin funnel configuration. So we got the Incom version earlier in the iteration of GBO2, and now we have the lovely fin funnel, which, yes, it is a 2-star, and we'll get into that shortly, because if this suit is so cool for you that you gotta have it twice, well, guess what? We have a boosted supply drop step up notice, which usually means a discount. So we do have a half off right here. If we jump into the details on this, half off. Step 2 and 3 are lovely tuning apparatuses, resources for that suit. And then the last being the guaranteed drop on that. So this is really cool, especially if you have some tokens to spare. I know we're not quite out of the woods yet for anniversary. We know something's big's on the way, but regardless of which, discounts are discounts. If it's cool enough to have, well, I'd definitely consider it. Anyways, jumping back to that, we do have a special 6th year anniversary 4th step up supply drop for up to 6 3-star drops. Now, of course, your first one is a half off as well. 3-star supply drop rate times 2 for every single step. Except for, sorry, it's not times 2. I totally misread that. But you have a gradually increasing supply drop rate going up for 3 stars. Your step 3 is another half off. And then your final step 5 is all mobile suits. So there's a good chance you might get some of the ones that you see in the little illustration there, like the Messer, the Psycho Bau, and some of the more infamous ones from UC Engage. So, but some really cool stuff there. On top of that, we do have some changes to the recycle ticket counter as follows. We have His Majesty, the legendary Psycho Pope Doga, level 1 being added to the RT counter. So if you don't have the suit yet, still, I implore you, hopefully you've been saving up. This is a suit to have, especially at 650 cost. On top of that, we have the 2-star Jigen D, level 2 being added as well. This is a 550 cost suit. Much like its normal A configuration, this is a native 500. So yes, the level 2 would be the 551. Very much a interesting suit, considering the fact that it is a little more melee oriented stat wise, but a lot of the weapons are very similar to the standard Jigen. Jumping down to the DP exchange counter, we have the Gogook Stutzer level 2. This being a, I believe, 500 configuration is now available, as well as the level 3 Zaku 3 and the level 3 Dawaj custom. So some really cool stuff to add to your collection. The new situation battle is now called the Last Teardrop. Now, I'm not familiar with that designation, but it looks like we have a bit of Char's counterattack in here. So obviously we have the Reg Z, pretty much Londo Bell, with the inclusion of a level 450 cost GM3. Sorry for laughing at that one, but apparently it's a support now in this. And then on top of that, we have, the Sasbi unit, both Jag Dogas and a couple Gira Dogas. So I don't know, we'll see how this plays out. More than likely, I'm pretty sure they've already buffed the GM3, but chances are they might have to do that just in case, since, you know, you're dealing with 3 suits already that are super powerful. You have the Gyaradogas already at 500, and kit-wise, based on this already, the GM3 has some limited range when you consider its shoulder missiles, but the reload times, the damage output on them, they're not very forgiving. Just because it does have balancers and it is a general, but they're slapping on support skills on there with the observational data link. It's gonna be... It's gonna struggle a little bit, so that'll put all the focus on the Londo build team with New Gundam, Reg-Z, and the G-Gens to kind of protect that very fragile suit, because yeah, 450 GM3 is not very strong, and especially when you're mixing in a lot of that stuff for a scenario battle, it definitely does put that suit at even more of a disadvantage because of the limited options that it has, especially to fight back. But if you're doing this, this does give you the G-Gun level 1 for the first week, for the first step, and then the second week will be the Yune Jagdoga as well. So let's get into the main event details as we focus in on our new mass production fin funnel New Gundam. This is a 2-star support unit usable on ground and space at 600, just like its general type variant. Again, this is a variant of the mass production type developed for ACE units by Anaheim Electronics, and designed by specifically for pilots with new type abilities and retrofitted with a backpack equipped with the fin funnel similar to the original New Gundam and not the incoms that we are used to the other unit. Maintained about 80% of the original prototype, some really cool stuff. If you are doing 10 pulls normally and say you were unlucky with your discount, it does give you a chance to get Amuro Ray's final normal suit as seen in Char's counterattack and in the sequences of Gundam Moon seen in UC Engage. It's pretty much that specific ace suit that he's wearing. So this is your chance to kind of, you know, have a matching ensemble with this. So really cool stuff. Let's get into the nitty-gritty stats behind the new suit. Alright folks, here we are with our main event suit, the mass production type New Gundam fin funnel configuration. Jumping into the stats first, as I mentioned before, yeah, it is a 600 cost support, usable on ground and space, with 19k as a base HP, which is kind of interesting because by default the Incom configuration comes with 21k, which if we scroll up here for a second, I have not touched the HP pool on that, so very interesting to say the least. Now, of course, right off the bat, looking at the resistances, we have 24 straight across the board on beam and ballistic, with melee resistance being at 18. So obviously kind of leaning towards that sort of mid-lining distance there to fight. Might be interesting to kind of build up upon. I don't know if having that low resistance is gonna kind of be a significant flaw, but hey, we'll see how that goes, because going further down the line, much like the general type, it does have a little more leaning towards range power with a good sizable amount of melee strength. But as we look at the details here, it still maintains melee priority 1, so something to kind of understand that you're not going to outbeat even the front lines, although you might want to just be careful with that. But at the same time, if you do happen to land a lucky shot, they're going to feel it. Just to kind of contrast things a little bit as well, we do have a movement speed of, or walking speed rather, of 130 and boosting speed of 200. To kind of contrast things a little bit, 135, 210 respectively for the general type. So that's a big significant difference as far as like boosting speed. Walking speed, it's not too much of a hit, but the boosting part does kind of, I think, hurt a little bit. At the same time, like at 600, I feel like this and I want to say that and the Advanced Hazel are some of the fastest supports right now at cost. And this is not counting secondary movements here either, because 110 to 170, no. So I think this by far has the most maneuverability right now as far as general type supports. In terms of just speed, in terms of raw speed, but I could be wrong on that, and I'm hoping you guys can elaborate a little bit more. But yeah, those look like general specs, which is interesting considering that most of the supports are usually running like 120, 125 if we're lucky, and then they're usually capping out at about like 190 or so. So this is a lot different than what I'm normally used to seeing, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But it does lend a little more maneuverability. Thruster's gauge is pretty, I would say, fairly generous. It's sitting at 70, although the higher spec boosting stuff out there usually obviously sits higher. This is already pretty good with a good turning speed as well. Most of these other supports, most of the more bulkier-esque looking supports are usually sitting at a lot lower. At the same time, actually, this is actually as fast as the RS Georgia, to be fair, which is pretty crazy to say the least. I'm trying to see if there's any other difference in turning speed. Nah, this is pretty crazy. Yeah, it actually turns a little bit faster than the RS Georgia by default, so that's really nice. Also, looking at the custom part slots, it does favor a little more mid-range in terms of like space, so you do have room to kind of mitigate some of the heat build that it has, or if you want to address some of the resistances as well, it looks like. And then on top of that, you know, you probably want to add range power as well, since this is going to be more of a shooty suit as well. I'm saying that a lot as well. I don't know why, it's just force of habit, I guess. But going into the primaries, standard beam rifle for the new Gundam, mass production type, 600, 13% heat rate, 300 effective meters, 0.8 of a second cooldown time with 18-second overheat with a 3-second focus. Just to check, it is probably the same, and it is. Going into the melee side, 2300, 2.5 seconds, should be the same as well. Actually, it hits a little bit less. So this is a specific one to the FF. So yeah, 200 points less, but I feel like if you're fighting against a blind general, well, he's gonna feel it regardless, even minus the 200 points there. So there is that to consider. And as with both, can't really swap out the weapons. These are what you're starting with. Now it has Vulcan cannons, just like the regular new Gundam, I believe. Different values as well. No, they're the same. 65, 60, 175, 15 seconds. Same as well. I'm pretty sure they're going to be the same fire rate, so these are pretty decent. I want to say borderline near Mark II status, as well as like GBO2, but I don't know, we'll see. Should be probably the same build stun as well. I'm assuming bazooka's the same. This doesn't have the FF designation, so still the same. 2300, 5 seconds, 300 meters. Yeah, pretty standard. This is going to be your backup button as well. Now, of course, the fin funnels. 250, 30 seconds, 30%, sorry, not 30 seconds, haha. 300 meters effective range, 2.5 second cooldown time, and 22 seconds overheat. I'm very curious to see if this is the same as the new Gundam. It should be, but we'll see. Let's go into 700 new. Not high new, but new. 450, 250, 222. So obviously these hit a little bit less harder. They might fire a little more frequently. It's hard to say because we are basing it on the heat rate. The effective range obviously is shorter, I think, by a little bit. Actually, no, this is extending a little bit further out. I think the other ones are 250, but they hit harder. These obviously have a base heat rate of 30%, so you might get a few shots. And then I think you might overheat on either the second or the third lock-on. But this is based on what I can see, but I do feel like the cooldown time and the overheat are the same as well from what I saw. We do have a fin funnel defense mode, instant overheat, 40 seconds down cooldown time, which if you do contrast that with the new Gundam, I believe they're still the same, although just for all intents and purposes, 25 seconds for the high new, 30 seconds for new, and then for our main event, 40 seconds. So not sure why is that high of an overheat. Maybe because you know, they want to kind of not make it too OP with the defense thing, but I don't know, hard to say at face value right now. But I do feel like tying into some of the other energy weapons there, chances are you're more than likely going to be running overheat parts, so that can probably mitigate a lot of that as well to kind of knock it down to about closer to 30. But I did not play with the math yet. Not yet. That's how fresh this is for me. We do have the arm attached beam spray gun, which, since there is no special FF designation, this is going to be probably identical to the general type as well. So the only difference going to be is the fin funnel and the saber in this case, as well as the respective fin weapons. Now, of course, jumping into the shopping list of skills that we have for this new suit, we got some familiar stuff that you'd normally expect out of a support. Radar at 2, so pretty good range. Observational data link, obviously, this has the aerospace gimbal, so this is going to have that tie into the space compatibility. So yeah, this is going to be doing pretty well in space for a 2-star. Anti-stealth 2. That's crazy. So I haven't seen really any 600 stealths, although every time in Colony Drop, it's been Pixie Central, so this might be the answer. Maybe, I don't know. But that's definitely nice to see. And then this has a resist move, so you do have that roll, but you will still take damage. But hey, it's a good way to reposition. So there's that. Leg shock absorber 3, flight control 2, balancer. So this is already 8+ in my book for any sport. Balancers are key. Why? Because sometimes you just want to get in there and they just ignore you because you're just going to shoot and you just swing. So this is always a nice thing to see. And back to, I guess, again, tying into that space thing. So we're at 69 on ground. This is automatically getting bumped up to 72. Force Ejector 1. Psychobu Weapon Buffer level 3, because obviously the addition of the fin funnels just makes this thing bigger. So you reduce incoming damage by 30%. And then you do have Psycho Frame Resonance at level 1, so 30% HP. I think this is literally the same thing as the regular new if we go up to 700, but I don't think they've changed anything with that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, still 30%, and then I think high new as well is still sitting at, although HWS I think is still, yeah, HWS is the same. It should be the same as high new as well, because they don't really change that. Oh yeah, high new is the only one that got the upgrade on that. So it starts at 30% instead of 50 like some of the other ones there. Oops, sorry. So some really cool stuff. I'm very eager to, try it out. 600 is still kind of the wild west, but not nearly as crazy as the additions of the Zai and Penelope, which, that's going to be a future video. You can count on that. As far as me talking about it, me playing the Zai or the Penelope, I have them, but I'm just too scared about it. It's just, I know I'm going to get shown up so bad. I just don't have the time to practice with it, so I'll leave it to the pros. But yeah, seeing this, I think this is going to be, just because it's a 2-star, I think it's still going to be a fun suit. It might get a little bullied just because of the weapon overlap that it has. It's a little unforgiving in certain aspects, but at the same time, like, if you're smart and you can kind of play around your team, I think there's enough leeway that you can kind of just cycle through, and if you're starting to overheat stuff, you kind of just that's a sign to kind of just fall back and play a little more defensively, a little more conservative, and then switch on again to just try to do as much as you can to help out your team. So, interesting stuff with this so far. Alright folks, with that said, that concludes tonight's GNN episode of the mass production type new Gundam with fin funnels. Hopefully you guys found this informative, but I want to know what you guys think about the new suit. Obviously, it's a 2-star, it's only 600 cost, but regardless of which, we are seeing more and more suits that haven't had a lot of screen time or a lot of media related to them until now, and it's really cool to see a lot of these different configurations coming to life. So I want to know what you guys think, if you guys already fought it, if it's strong, if it's weak sauce, anything else in between. I want to know what you guys think. Let's go ahead and talk about that in the comments there. But more than likely, I want to take this out. It's really cool to see this finally in game, and yeah, it's just as cool as the general type. It's as cool as the incom type. Oh man, I know it's gonna be something fierce. It's not gonna be like the best thing out there, but at the same time, there's no denying that factor of coolness that this has. So until next time, guys, that's it for now, and I will see you guys all in the next video. So take care.